The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Pop in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh, got my hustle on, no imitation of bad. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation stab. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throb in my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too evil and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
Earnestly Podcast coming to you July 2nd, 2024. If you're watching on YouTube, you look on the screen, is you'll see that is my cousin Cecil Souza. He passed away today, age 47, to cancer. This show was going to be strictly an NBA
The
show.
Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects.
There we go. Sorry about that. This episode was going to be fully an NBA episode. Creating a little bit of my thoughts on games the movie made. And we will get to that in a second. But I wanted to talk about my cousin a little bit. He passed away today at 12:40 p.m. He had liver and intestinal cancer. Which, and this is a tough one for the family, especially, you know, cousin, my cousin, I'm almost some relatives, pretty close. I was close to the second kid. I am the oldest brother of my siblings. I'm the oldest, but I did have an older brother. It was him. He was, for all instances, my older brother. Growing up as a kid, lived in New York. You were tight. You were inseparable. Again, my brother. In fact, a lot of the things I love even today was shaped by him. He's the reason I got into wrestling, actually. I tell the story way back when, where in Brooklyn, New York, around 1987, 88, in his bedroom, in his VCR, he would have a tape. You know, when you have a VCR and the tape would be in the VCR, not inside, but kind of hanging out. He had this recording in bold letters, WrestleMania 3, March 29th, 1987. And that tape, for I think a good 2 years at least, always stayed in his VCR. And from time to time, we'll watch it together. That was my first ever exposure to wrestling. He exposed me to wrestling. He's the one that got me to wrestling as a kid, which I'm still to this day into, obviously. You see, I talk about it on various platforms. This show, Mo Wrestling Retro Podcast, he is the reason I got into wrestling. He's the reason I got into Hulk Hogan, all these guys. He's the reason I got into wrestling. He's also the reason I got into hip-hop as well, too. Growing up as kids, obviously in the 80s, vinyls were obviously, it's a big thing now, but even back then, vinyls were a big thing. I remember going through his record collection as a kid. He would have the Fat Boys records, LL Cool J records, all these old school albums of hip hop. And him and I used to get into that all the time. We get into reggae all the time and calypso and soca, but a lot of us also mostly hip hop and R&B and whatnot. He shaped that for me. He shaped that for me. He was the one that did that more than anything. And then I also, through him, got into football. He's the reason, actually, I became a New York Giants fan as a child. He was the first. Now, all those things, of course, outside of hip-hop, of course, he grew out of pretty quickly. Like, after I got into it, I took it and ran with it. Wrestling, never left me. I'm 44 years old. I'm still into it now. I still talk about it all the time. Same with football, obviously. I took his New York Giants fanhood and ran with it. But he's the one that shaped that for me. He's the person that shaped that. Obviously getting older, we weren't as close as we got older. We got older, we have our own lifestyles. He was more of a partier. I was not. I was a lot more conservative with lifestyles. I didn't like to go out alone. I mean, I partied once in a blue moon, but I was never like heavily into it. He was partying. He'll tell you that too. He would tell you that. But we always kept in touch. Especially with our family too. Again, when all the siblings get older, they do their own thing, create their own lives, create their own families, the whole nine, and that's what happens, obviously. But every time we try to do big family gatherings for the holidays, random situations, whatever it may be, game nights, which was a big thing in our family. He was always the one trying to figure it out. He always trying to find ways to, we gotta get together and we have to unite the family and keep fellowship, keep staying close. Especially the last like 12 years when our grandmother passed away, he made it a mission to make sure we all try to stick together. Sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't work. Sometimes people just do their own thing, and I get that. But you always put the effort in to fellowship. Find ways for us to fellowship. One thing that really touched my heart as he was coming down to the end here, because I didn't talk about this publicly. But we've known a couple months he was on the way, not doing well. In the last month, especially too, it got worse. My wife, we've been together 18 years. We'll be 18 years this actually on 4th of July, 18 years together, dating anniversary. She told me in recent days that more than anybody else, this is my mom's side of the family, more than anybody else in the family, it was my cousin Cecil who made her feel unconditionally welcome to the family. Because of his personality, he was a very vibrant person, very happy, very always just looking for happiness and togetherness and unifying and all that. She said that he was the one that she felt he made her feel more welcome in the family than anyone. Not saying no one else did, for the record, I'm not saying that, but he was the one that, when I was away, always included her in things, whatnot. My family's, listen, my family's mom's side, dad's side, there's very strong personalities there. And it depends who you are. It may be hard to fit in. I get all that. It may be hard to fit in. But he was good about that. He was always good about making people feel included in things. My wife always has told me that recent days that he was the one. No, actually, to be honest, she told me recent days, but she actually told me that years ago too. Also, that she always loved him because he was always the one that she felt like she felt comfortable around him because he was always easy to talk to because that's his personality. She took the passing hard. We went down there on Friday. We last saw him Friday. When things were starting to get really bad the last week. My mother had told me on Wednesday night that you may want to come down here because Wednesday night she calls me and says you want to get down here as soon as possible because he may not make it through the night. He may pass in 24 hours the way things are going. So Wednesday night / Thursday morning about 2 a.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m., whatever, I drove down to Miami, which is about an hour away from my house, to the hospital, University of Miami Hospital, which is an hour away from my house, by myself, in the middle of the night, which was tough for me because I was shaking and a bit emotional that night. I wasn't sure I could even drive down there. But I didn't wake my kids and take them with me because I know they were sleeping and whatnot. But I managed to calm down. My wife calmed me down. I managed to go down there at 1 a.m. in the morning, drove to Miami at 1 a.m. Music, obviously, listening to music also helped me out too, also calm me down on the drive there. Able to talk to him, not talk to him, but see him and just tell him how much I loved him and, that stay strong and you can go. Make sure I'm not want you in pain, obviously, all those things. And we're there for a couple hours. I ended up leaving there about 4:45, got home about 6 a.m. No sleep, and it was a rough drive home. He ended up actually getting discharged from the hospital because we thought he was going to die in the hospital in hospice, but he ended up actually getting discharged from the hospital the very next day. And we went down there, myself, my wife, and our kids went down to see him at his house, at my aunt's house where he lives at. And Friday night we went out to see him to pretty much final goodbyes. It was fine. It was fine because I've had a hard time processing all this too with him because we weren't as close in recent years, but not because of anything. It's more so the life. Again, different lifestyles, we live our own lives. It happens, but we always kept in touch. Obviously, text and phone calls here and there, and hey, we love you. Anyway, every time I saw him, we always go to each other and give each other hugs and kisses and all that. But I was so trying to process everything that was going on, and it didn't really come clear to me until when we were leaving to go back home. And I told my kids, to say their final goodbyes so we can leave. And by the way, I warned my kids before because they had wanted to go see him before he leaves, before he passes. And I explained to them, listen, he's not in the best shape right now, obviously. So when you're going to see it, because one thing also too is that my kids, I got a little closer to him in recent years. He started visiting up here a lot more. So my kids, I got a little closer to him in recent years, especially in the last year. And I told my kids, listen, you're not gonna be able to talk to him because he can hear you, but he's not alert. Like he's not gonna be able to respond to you because he's in hospice. He's comfortable. And so my kids, my son Eli said first that his final goodbyes, and then my 7-year-old son did his goodbyes, and he got very emotional, and that really made me feel really bad, empathetic as he was, and I think that's when it hit me about what was going on, because I've always been very, not that I'm blocking things out, but sometimes I process things differently. It takes a long time to process properly for I really hits me that what's going on. And from there is where it hit me. And all these memories started coming back of my cousin and I growing up as kids. And it was emotional. So we drove home. We drove home that night, and my son was still pretty sad, pretty shaken up by it, and was still crying in the car a little bit. But yeah, it's been a rough week for the family. He's at peace finally. But my son, his emotional, not an outburst, but his emotional moment there kind of gave me a better, clearer direction how to remember him. And the reason I think that happened is because even at 40, the reason he connected with my cousin too, especially, I told you guys a minute ago that my cousin got close to my kids in recent years, especially in the last year, is that he had a very youthful spirit, even at 47 years old, a very youthful spirit. And my kids respond well to that. He had a spirit of love, a spirit of vibrancy, and togetherness. And that's why it hit my kid hard. We were told on Friday that it'd be a miracle he'd make it a Monday through the weekend. Not only did he make it a Monday, he made it Tuesday. And we got the news today. I got the news about an hour and so many minutes after he had passed that he was gone. So it's been really hard. It's been really hard. He had his issues, obviously, which he dealt with, and we all do have issues. He was a good person at the core of who he was. He would never hurt anybody. He would give his last dollar to ones that need it. He was a good person. His intent was always he's always well intentioned, and that's to me what I always look at is X person well intentioned as a human being, and he was definitely one of those. So yeah, it's I'll be honest with you, being on pins and needles the last couple of days with this situation, I haven't spoken about it publicly because I didn't want to, it's one of those things where I just want to keep it to myself. And plus, his family, his mom, and my cousins other cousins, his sister has not made anything public about this, what he's going through. So I don't want to ruffle those feathers either. But I'm gonna miss him. I'm gonna miss him. I miss the big hugs and just the fellowship and talk about politics and talk about, our childhood and football once in a while. He was getting back to football recently too. Also, the last Giants playoff win 2 years ago, we were watching it together. Actually, it was me, him, my brother, and it was a fun time. It's a fun time. Rest in peace, Seth, man. I miss you. I really miss you. I really do. Like, it's hitting me now, especially what William back behind. So he's not in pain anymore. That's why I look at it. What do we believe in? It's in God's hands now. But yeah, we're gonna miss you, man. We're gonna miss you. We love you. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for being there for the family, and thank you for your youthful spirit. So that's all I got to say about that. So rest in peace, Cecil. We love you, miss you. Okay. Now that I got that out of my system, free agency is here. It's already started, and it's already NBA free agency is going to bang. Lots of big moves. Lots of moves. Lots of moves that can alter the championship conversation next year and beyond. Paul George to Philadelphia, 4 years, $212 million. He's no longer a Clipper. He's a Sixer. That's a big move for the Sixers. I believe that puts them, in my opinion, number 2 in the Eastern Conference on paper. The big question is, will they be healthy? And will they be healthy in time in the postseason to where it matters? Okay, that's a big question. Also, Philadelphia, in addition to signing Paul George, also re-upped, extended Tyrese Maxey, their budding star, 5 years, $204 million. Excellent move. Maxey had a phenomenal year last season. Held the fort down when Embiid was out. So they got the big 3 now. They got the Paul George, Embiid, Maxey, big 3 now. Question is going to be, where do they stand at Boston? Can it be Boston? I still take Boston right now because their core is together. We'll get that in a second. Also, another big move the Sixers did also that to solidify their team. Kelly Oubre Jr., 2 years, $16.5 million. Another swingman to spell Paul George. Huge move for the Sixers there. Huge move there. The other big move yesterday that happened that could alter the title conversation is actually a move by a team that was in the finals this past year. Dallas Mavericks signed Klay Thompson, 3 years, $50 million. I think this is huge. Look, Klay is not the same guy as he was. Even 2 years ago, he had one of his worst years of his career. He shot under 40% from 3 for the first time, I think, ever. I'm not mistaken. But he shot, 39%, 20%. If he can get back to hitting open shots, open threes, I think him along with Luka and Kyrie, they can be a problem. We hear a lot of things about Klay Thompson, how that marriage with Golden State ended. Golden State did offer him a 2-year, $40 million deal during the season or start of the season, whatever it may be. Obviously, Klay taking 3 and 50. It's in range, but obviously Klay was not happy with that, probably felt insulted. And I'm really concerned about the Warriors now, what they do. Because down 2 years since winning the title, they look like they're shedding salary now. Obviously got rid of Jordan Poole. They paid him, then they got rid of him because he had a horrible year after. They re-signed Draymond Green last year, $100 million deal. Andrew Wiggins got that big deal after the finals. So Klay feels some type of way, I'm sure. I don't blame him for that. But I think that deal with Dallas is a great value for Dallas. Because I thought Klay still would have gotten $20 million plus, at least, on a short-term deal. So the fact that the Mavericks got him at a $16 million-ish number, under $20 million a year, annually, that's huge. That's huge to the Mavericks. So we just watch how that goes. Then, of course, the Boston Celtics, the NBA champions, they take care of business. First off, they go ahead and extend Jason Tatum to the biggest NBA contract in league history. 5 years, $350 million. We knew that was coming. Not surprised there. But the one that really stood out to me for the Celtics was them retaining Derek White, their swingman, to 4 years, $129.5 million. Derek White, if the Celtics have a big five, he's the fifth guy. Obviously, you have Tatum Brown, and then you have KP, Drew Holiday, KP being Kristaps Porzingis, Drew Holiday, and then Derek White. Derek White, at one point this year, was getting all-star chatter. That's how good he is. One of the best swingmen in the NBA. I'm of the opinion that Derek White would have gotten, an offer of $40 million plus next year annually if he hit the market. He had 1 more year in his contract. The Boston Celtics were able to lock him up to about $30 million-ish annually deal. Very smart move. They have their core together for the next couple of years now. I don't know how they did it. Crunch numbers, no maybe, but they did it. And to me, one of the best, probably the best deal of the day, by virtue of Boston having their depth and keeping their core intact. They extended Drew Holiday. Brown and Tatum both extended now. The only one left now is Porzingis, and I think the reason why they haven't touched that one yet is because he has 2 years left in his deal and injuries, of course. So the Derek White move, I think, was huge. It means the Boston Celtics are now the favorites next year. And I would say right now, based on the landscape of things that have happened so far, based on the transactions, they might be the heavy favorites now to repeat as champions. Another move that may alter the conversation of the championship bubble. OKC Thunder, they need size. They got size. Isaiah Hartenstein, 3 years, $87 million from the Knicks. He was a huge, huge piece of the Knicks last year, who won 1 game for the conference finals last year. Hartenstein is a guy that is pretty solid on both ends of the floor. So the Knicks, while they did well last week, re-upping OG Anunoby and also trading for Mikal Bridges, losing Hartenstein might be a bit of a stinger. We'll see if Mitchell Robinson can actually step up this year, because Mitchell Robinson is a great defender, great rebounder, not so much a great offensive player. Hartenstein at least had a little bit of offensive game, a little bit of a floater he could put up there, and was a solid defender. And he definitely hustled like crazy. This move for OKC is huge. I think this is the move now that could inch him closer to being a title team. What else here? You got Tobias Harris, back in Detroit for 2 years, $52 million. To me, that feels like you got to pay someone. You got to be over the salary floor. Just pay this guy, Tobias Harris. They also gave Kate Cunningham his rookie max extension. Was it 5 years and $250 million? I think it was. Let's see. Chris Paul to San Antonio on 1 year, $11 million deal. I like the move for one reason. Leadership for Wemby. Look, San Antonio won't get much better, with the roster I have now currently, but Wemby is ascending in every year. I think Chris Paul's leadership will help with that. James Harden, 2 years, $70 million to stay with the Clippers. Yeah, it is what it is with this one. You got to pay either Paul George or James Harden, and they just commit on James Harden. Jonas Valanciunas, 3 years, $3 million to go to Washington for the Wizards. Another solid center. Let's see anything else. Big one here. Another big movie here. Oh, KCP, Contavious Caldwell Pope, 3 years, $66 million to sign with the Orlando Magic. This move hurts Denver. Look, I would still say Denver's the favorites in the Western Conference, but I think this may bring them a little closer to the pack a little bit. Let's see what they do. They lost Bruce Brown 2 years ago. They now lose KCP. So now they're down another wing. Obi Toppin, 3 years, $60 million to stay in Indiana. Good move, solid player, former Knick. And then the extension of Donovan Mitchell at 3 years, $150 million with the Cavaliers. That is also another huge move. So there you go with that one. With these the latest moves, big moves, I say, in the NBA free agency period, which is often. All right, as for the NBA title odds right now, updated since the start of free agency, it has changed dramatically, actually. Boston Celtics still number one. I'm going to bring it up to the screen here real quick, courtesy of the Atlanta Constitutional Journal. If I can get this up real quick, I'll show it to you guys exactly what I'm talking about here. We do have updated NBA title odds, which has been updated a few times in the last week since the NBA Finals ended. There it is right there. Looking at the screen on YouTube. Celtics, of course, the favorites are plus 295. The 76ers officially now the favorites at plus 800. The OKC Thunder actually at plus 850. The Nuggets now at plus 850 now, going down a peck. No, they were plus 800 last week. The Knicks were plus 800 for a while. Now they're plus 950. The Timberwolves now at plus 1,000. Mavericks plus 1,000. The Bucks plus 1,100. The Lakers plus 3,000. I'll tell you what, though, if you're a gambler for value, there's some good value bets here. The Bucks, I'll tell you what, I don't like Doc Rivers. I don't like what's going on in Milwaukee. They haven't done anything really. But for value, won't be the worst bet in the world. But this is definitely the updated odds here so far. The Celtics right now are the heavy favorites now to repeat as NBA champions. As for my let's say Super Bowl, my NBA Finals bubble, I have identified there are 9 teams as of right now, 9 teams that I believe are NBA championship contenders, not playoff contenders. Now, remember, playoff contenders are teams I can see going to the playoffs, but not necessarily winning a championship or being in the conversation. And how I view NBA championship contenders is the following, and I did with the Super Bowl II in the NFL. Teams, do I see X team playing in the conference finals, for the rights to go to the NBA championship? If your ceiling's at least get into the conference finals, then you're, in my opinion, a conference, a championship contender. And I have identified, in my opinion, 9 teams. 4 in the East, 5 in the West. Okay? The 4 teams in the East, obviously the Celtics on 1 with a bullet. We know that. The Sixers, the Knicks, and the Bucks. Now, I will say there are 2 teams I'm still kind of on the fence on. One being my Miami Heat, which, again, I'll discuss in a second. I have some words for Heat fans there that piss me the hell off. But also, the Pacers, who were just in the conference finals this year, they re-upped the core. Pascal Siakam's back. Halliburton, of course, is their lead guy. Whatnot. They have their core guys together. Miles Turner's still there. And I almost put Indiana in there, but I just think Indiana's way too inconsistent now, and they caught fire. From a Bucks team that was banged up. Knicks team got banged up in the second round playoffs, so they caught a lot of breaks there. Same way Celtics got breaks going to the NBA championship, but at the same time, Boston was always going to win the whole thing no matter what. Or at least get the finals, so that was a surprise. So the Pacers, though, I just don't trust them yet. I want to see next year what they do, so I can't put them there yet. I don't see them getting to the conference finals next year. Put it that way. So those are my 4 teams, and the Heat. Again, I still think the Heat, if they're healthy, can give all these teams a run. So I wanted to put them in there, but I don't have any more confidence that Jimmy Butler or Tyler Hero will be healthy in time. So I can't, much as I love my team, and we'll get to the Heat in a second. We'll get to that in a second. I just can't call them title contenders yet. Just yet. I just can't. All right. In the West, I have 5 teams. Obviously, the Nuggets, who were the champions the year before. The Minnesota Timberwolves, by Anthony Edwards and company. Now the OKC Thunder, yes, are NBA championship contenders. The Dallas Mavericks, who were in the finals last year. This move with Klay Thompson, I love. And I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Maybe I'm wrong here. I think the Lakers are still a contender. I like their roster. The problem is LeBron going to be healthy? AD going to be healthy? AD was healthy last year. And they lost to the, they lost to the NBA at the time, the defending champions, the Nuggets in the playoffs. But could I see a scenario that they're in the NBA Western Conference Finals? Yeah, I could. We saw it 2 years ago when they had Darvin Ham as coach. And it's a relatively the same roster. Now, obviously, LeBron's a year older, but LeBron's a freak, dude. And maybe this is my eyes saying I can't imagine LeBron not being a contender. So I just can't, come out and admit it. But I could see it. I could see the Lakers still. Now, look, do I think they will win the title, win the West? No. But can I see a scenario where they get the right matchups in the first 2 rounds? Yeah, absolutely. I could. Without question, I could. So I'm going to go with it. So that's my current NBA championship bubble right now. As for Miami Heat, I know I teased a little while ago. The Miami Heat, They haven't done anything. The only thing they've done in free agency tour is re-sign Kevin Love. And a lot of fans are pissed off about it, that I'm not doing anything. And I'm going to tell y'all, you guys need to calm your ass down. You guys sound like a bunch of entitled, whining little bitches. Okay? I don't like teams that make moves for the sake of making moves because everyone else is doing it. It's like a case of FOMO, fear of missing out. You know, there is no one, in my opinion, there were no free agents right now on the market that I believe that even if the Heat signed them to where they were paying into the second apron in the salary cap, that I believe were going to change the championship conversation based on what they have right now, without having to take a risk on possibly being restricted financially to do any moves in the future. As much as I love Paul George, he wasn't worth that kind of money, in my opinion. Klay Thompson, if you get him on cheap, maybe sure, but I don't know. You're not paying him max dollars. The Heat have no cap room. I like the Heat staying pat for one reason. I actually like the roster. Their issue has been they just can't stay healthy. They just can't stay healthy. And Tyler Hero missed how many games last year? 30-something games last year. Jimmy Butler missed the playoffs pretty much last year. This team healthy is definitely, in my opinion, the ceiling is a NBA Finals team. And the reason I say that is that we've seen it already. They've got 2 finals in 4 years. Okay. They were 17 seconds away from going to another finals. Okay. So trust the process here. The mistake they made, obviously, signing Kyle Lowry, not so much signing Kyle Lowry, but signing Kyle Lowry to that contract, that 3-year, $98 million or whatever deal that he got, $90 million deal he got, which I said at the time too also. I don't mind him signing Kyle Lowry. I don't like 3 years. So they were already restricted. And I think also in the bubble going to the finals, they made a commitment to guys that they probably would have not done. But this is what happens when you go to NBA championship or compete for one. You're going to have to make decisions on players that are maybe you may think are as good as they are, but not really as good as they are. Tyler Hero is a good player. Is he worth the contract he's getting right now? Probably not. Probably not. But you committed to that because at the time, he was playing well. And not saying he's not playing well, but that was a asset that was growing. You guys get mad about Max Strus and Gabe Vincent going and let him walk. Is Gabe Vincent a $14 million a year player right now? He's not. They made the right move there by letting him walk. Okay, this is the problem. You can't pay everybody. You commit to the core. This is the core you have going forward, and then move from there. I'm excited about the team because I like Terry Rozier. Terry Rozier played very well last year at the end of the season when they acquired him from Charlotte. Okay, but again, we had no players. The team had no players ready. Playoff time. Jim Butler gets hurt in the playoffs. I'm not saying going to be Boston, but they would actually give him a better shot with him healthy. I like Jaime Jaquez, and the young player. Let's see he makes a leap. So let's calm down. Let's calm down a little bit. All this Pat Riley retire thing. Stop. Calm down. I really feel like 2010, 2010, honestly, and that was the year when they got LeBron, Wade, and Bosh, the big three, really stunted the mind and the expectations or realizations of this franchise. I really feel that because that's not what happened there in 2010 is an anomaly. You're probably never seeing that again on that level ever. Okay. You'll see big threes, obviously, yes, but not at that level, at that tier of their careers. That's never going to happen again. I don't think I'll see it in anytime soon. So this idea that the Heat can get whoever they want and this and that, that's not realistic. Okay, the Heat have done a great job in the last 10 years, actually, post LeBron, post Big Three, of staying competitive, changing the scope of how they do things, scouting, using the G League to advantage, and build from there. No, has it netted them a championship? No, but I guarantee you, any other franchise would rather be in a Heat position where, at the very least, we're competing for titles or in the conversation than, say, the Atlanta Hawks or the Houston Rockets or the Washington Wizards, or the Orlando Magic. We at least are competing for titles every year. We don't win them all the time, but we're at least competing for it. And I think the Heat fans need to have a little bit more perspective on this. They sound entitled, and I'm so sick of it. Going on Twitter, on social media, and oh my God, blow it up. Trade Jimmy Butler. Trade this guy. You understand, if you trade guys, you got to rebuild. Do you want to be competitive or rebuild? This roster right now is competitive to these compete for titles. My only fear, and the reason why I didn't put in my title bubble, my championship bubble, is because I'm not sure if they'll stay healthy. If I know Jimmy Butler is going to be healthy, or tell her to be healthy next year, then they're in the bubble. That's simple. But we don't know, because every year they get hurt. And at the wrong time, at the most inopportune time, they get hurt. So that's the reality situation. But they're still competitive. And I'll take competitive over being a team that's a 20-plus win team every year, and by the time you get to Christmas, they're out of the playoff hunt, and that's it. And believe me, as a Heat fan of 36 years, I've been there before. It's not fun. I've been here since before Pat Riley even got here. And while those teams have a special place in my heart, at the end of the day, I'd rather take these teams here that are competitive every year and competing for titles than a team that's winning. If they win 30-something games a year, it's a success. Bottom line. So please, get some perspective. Last thing, get out of here. They have a chance to talk about the Bronny James officially being drafted by the Lakers and becoming teammates with his father, LeBron James. I think it's a cool story. Father and son playing the same team. Yes, nepotism. Guess what? Who gives a shit? Nepotism runs rampant everywhere in society, every single place. In sports, you see it all the time. The Lakers brand is literally nepotism. Jerry Buss to Jim Buss to Jeannie Buss ownership. Boom, boom, boom. Okay? Look at the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones. Who was the front office? His son, Stephen Jones. Nepotism is everywhere. Everywhere. Every foreign business. Whether good or bad. And I think what I don't like is the disingenuous arguments about this, because I don't like LeBron James and his son is now playing, and I don't like his father. I'm going to be critical of that. But do you ever call it nepotism when you see otherwise anywhere else? Look at it in politics. Donald Trump, was president of the United States for 4 years. He hires his son-in-law and his daughter to work with the administration. Nepotism. Same thing. Joe Biden, his son was involved in a lot of the things involved with politics. Nepotism. It's no different. So why is LeBron getting the heat for it, but not? Now, the reason I didn't like the move for Bronny, even though I like the story, the reason I was critical of Bronny James getting drafted before and certainly after now is that I don't believe, based on what I've watched, I don't believe Bronny James is an NBA player yet. I don't think he's ready for the NBA, in my opinion. And I think also second round draft picks now in the era of first and second aprons now are going to become even more valuable now. As you see big threes coming down to the end. Now, granted, we see a couple teams now making waves as well, but you're not going to see the widespread anymore. I think draft picks, first and second round draft picks, are going to become even more valuable now because of that. Because of the economics of the NBA, where it's going. That being said, I love the story. I'm rooting for Bronny. Hope he does well. When I watched him play at USC last year, he didn't scream NBA ready to me. And my evaluation of him not being, or him being with the Lakers, is more so just him being Bronny James, individual basketball player. I don't see NBA ready yet. Maybe he will be next year. But, I'm not mad that LeBron drafted his son. And look, and there's a lot of things about LeBron we can bag on. I don't like how Clutch Sports and Rich Paul has a stranglehold on how they do business with teams, whatnot. I'm not a fan of it personally, and how they like to go behind the scenes and write the narrative of how to do things. I'm not a fan of that. all that passive aggressive bullshit. Actually makes LeBron look bad, in my opinion. But that's neither here or there. My criticism of Bronny James is solely about Bronny James, the basketball player, not Bronny James. Oh, because I don't like his daddy, so therefore I'm going to criticize it. Nepotism. But again, are you same person calling out the nepotism that's going on, running rampant across society? Not just in sports, not just in politics, or business, or music. It's everywhere. And the same person who's crying foul about nepotism, would you be the same with your own kids? Think about that. Think about that. I mean, people don't consider that stuff. They say they cry foul, but then like, wouldn't you do the same thing for your child if you're in their shoes? You probably would. You probably would. So it's a cool story. He already got a multi-year deal. I saw it this morning. And you know, it's a cool story. I don't think they're ready, but I'm gonna watch anyway because why not? Who cares? The shit runs rampant across all forces of life. So why should LeBron get penalized for that? Just saying. Anyway, that's it for me. Wrapping it up. Again, on Twitter /X at EJ Christian 7. Particular podcast across all podcast catchers. I am also scheduled to drop a podcast recorded tonight. A new Falfa content episode with myself, James Big Jim Niece, Kyle Nash. That should be a fun one. I can't wait for that episode. That'll drop either tomorrow or Thursday. But again, rest in peace to my cousin, most of all, Cecil D'Souza. We love you. We miss you. And we'll see you again. See you again. Love you, buddy. Take care and see you.